Welcome back to Dual Threat Gaming. I'm Jess.
I'm Ethan, and we're doing our first ever TV show review. We've been wanting to do these for a while, just trying to get some time and finding the right show, and we decided to do it The Last of Us.
We're going to do a brief overview of each episode. There will be spoilers, and then kind of like what we thought of the season as a whole.
Mm-hmm. I've played the game all the way through the first game. I didn't play the second one. So I have kind of comparing that to the game a little bit, and I'll try not to do it too much, but I will.
I've only played part of it, so I only know a little bit of how to compare and contrast the movie and the show and the game.
So we'll start with episode 1. Ladies first.
Well, they added in the part in the beginning where they're interviewing scientists and they're kind of explaining how they think there could be like a pandemic. And I think the guy had brought up a virus and the scientist's like, no, it's going to be a fungus. And it was just kind of cool to have that background knowledge as someone who works in education. It's important to build background knowledge for your audience before giving them more. So, especially for people who haven't played the games, I thought that was really good to kind of just give information. And then when they go to Joel and Sarah, I thought it was good. So obviously they can't have a whole part of the episode where she's just walking around figuring out where everything is in her house, because
that'd be kind of weird.
Yeah, so I thought they did really good with filling in that part from the game with her like going to the neighbors, and I liked that change that they made, and it wasn't too much of a change, but I thought it was really good and made sense. And then when they started, like after when the zombies started attacking, I thought it stayed pretty close to the game and not in a bad way. It really like they made it
like shot for shot. Was honestly episode 1 was probably my favorite episode.
Yeah, they did a really good job of making it a show from a game and not just doing fully the game, but staying true to it as well.
Yeah, and expanding on things here and there. I like that a lot. Honestly, episode 1's my favorite by far. I think for a video game adaptation, I think it was perfect. I don't know. I haven't seen a show do it better, to be honest with you.
I don't know what my favorite episode was.
Yeah, episode 1 is by far my favorite, and I think
the end of it.
Before I get to that, though, would you recommend just up front? Would you recommend people watch the show?
Yeah,
I would too. I would recommend people watching it. For the people who haven't played the game, to people who have played the game who are kind of holding off on the show.
There's a lot of people who have not played the game that are watching it and they're thoroughly enjoying it.
Yeah. And it's for a good reason. It's a very good show overall, I think.
I will say they're doing a way better job at it than they did with Uncharted and Max Payne.
Mark Wahlberg in both of those.
Even The Witcher goes kind of...
Witcher's not even close.
So...
Season 1's the only one. Anyway, we're getting off topic.
I'm just saying, video game to show adaptation wise, this is probably one of the best ones.
I think it is the best, personally.
Episode 2.
Dose.
We start going to... We go 20 years in the future, just like in the game. And it's showing Joel and him living his life without
Sarah.
Without his daughter.
Yeah.
And he's with Tess now, like unofficially, but he's with her. You can kind of tell, make an inference. And then you just kind of see how they're living, and they end up meeting up with fireflies. And they get Ellie.
Yeah.
And they're doing it just for money.
Pretty much. But one thing I will say that it just... So this does deviate from the game. I wish they would have spent more time here, because I think developing Tess as a character more would have been better off, because in the game you spend like almost an hour with her in the city if you doing all the missions and everything, and you kind of learn more about her, and I feel like they kind of rushed it.
Been more impactful impactful.
Yeah, and like her death would have been more impactful and stuff like that. And
I kind of feel like the whole season was rushed. It felt very fast to me.
yeah, we'll get to the stuff we liked and disliked at
I'm
the end,
just
towards the
saying.
end. But that is like an overarching theme of the entire show. It's just not, the pacing isn't there. It's good for a couple episodes, and then like it just jumps. Like it's off.
I feel like I don't know. I'll wait till the end.
Right.
I don't. Episode 2 is really just they're showing him and Tess and how they survive, and they're trying.
Ellie too. They introduce Ellie.
Yeah, but they're like, hold on. They're showing how they survive, and then they're trying to get a car battery because Joel needs to find his brother. They were separated, and then they run into Marlene, which is a Firefly, which they weren't expecting to see her. I don't think.
No, that wasn't the person we were getting a car battery from.
And she's like, we'll give it to you. Just take this girl and do this. So, just more getting into meeting Ellie, and Joel didn't want her and Tess didn't want her, but they really want the car battery. So, I don't know. It was not a bad episode. It was just
honestly,
leading up to Ellie.
With the exception of like them not expanding more with Tess, I think this is still a really good episode. Honestly, the first 2 episodes are really, really good. I love both episodes.
I feel like they were pretty close to the game in those 2.
Yeah, with some, like, they're cutting out like certain missions you do in the city, like I was saying earlier. It's still in a lot of ways shot the same way, and it's very well done. I think this was one that has like the clicker in it, or is that?
It might be 4. I don't think that's till episode 4.
Alright, so we're going to get in episode 3.
Okay, so episode 3. I liked it. I think it wasn't very cohesive with the show as a whole because they focus on Frank and Bill. And I really liked their story. However, with the show, I don't think it flowed well. It was like its own separate show in the show. I think they should have spent a little bit of time giving you that little bit of backstory, and then, okay, now we're back to Ellie and Joel. Oh wait, no, Tess does die in 2 because she's not with them when they go to Frank and Bill's place. So she's okay. But yes, I think that as a standalone episode was really good. It was I think I cried, or I almost cried, seeing Bill and Frank's story. I loved it. I liked seeing how they fell in love and the lights that they built, and then how they died together, which is different from the game. But I don't think it went with the show as a whole cohesive season. It could have been its own thing.
Yeah, I think as a standalone episode, I think it's great. It's probably one of the best, like, TV show wise, like, love stories I've watched, and I really enjoyed it a lot. Just seeing Bill and Frank, how they come together and how they grow and they build everything together. But overall, I think I agree with you 100%. I think overall it doesn't really flow with the season.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And this episode, it does deviate very heavily from the game. And the thing is too, that's one thing that kind of sucks, that I kind of knocked this episode a little bit for, is how you meet Bill in the game is actually a very cool sequence. And I was kind of hoping they would go that route, but obviously they went differently with this one, which is fine. They wanted creative freedom and do stuff like that. But I still enjoyed it, and I still think it's good. But I think overall, this is one of the ones that kind of messed up the flow.
It did. It really did. I don't like being away from the main characters that long. Yeah. I want to know what's happening with Joel and Ellie. Mm-hmm. I want to know what they're doing, not be in this whole other story for a whole episode. I also forgot to mention them explaining and changing the spores. Instead of that, they decided to go with like this hive mind kind of thing. If you touch one of their tendrils, then all of them that are connected to that tendril
Mm.
are aware and they kind of come after you. I thought that was a good way to make up for the fact that they couldn't really do spores.
Yeah, that really didn't bother me, honestly. Watching the show, I didn't really notice many differences from it. I kind of liked how they did it in the show. Personally, it makes more sense, I think, writing wise for the show. Makes more sense, and so I like that personally. So we're gonna do episode
4.
So episode 4 is they get the vehicle from at the end of episode 3, and they start driving across to, I think they get to Kansas. Yeah, Kansas City.
Oh.
Yeah, so they get to Kansas City, and then let's see. Yeah,
there's a guy that's acting like he's injured.
Pretending, and this is actually really good. This is, to their credit, almost in a way shot for shot like the game. I love this episode. I was actually, as soon as I started seeing like they were start driving in the city, I was like, oh, it's coming, because I love this. This is one of my favorite parts in the game. They go in and they see this guy's like pretending to be hurt and everything like that, and Ellie's like, oh my, we need to help him, and then Joel's just like, nope. Full Mario Kart tries to run, or no, full Grand Theft Auto tries to run his ass over, and it was fun.
And then they so they're having their shootout and everything, and Ellie's hiding, and one guy comes and attacks Joel, and Ellie has to come out and save him, and she shoots him, or no, yes, she shoots him, but he doesn't die. And Joel ends up killing him. But this is kind of where you see maybe Joel, like, maybe not opening up to Ellie, but
Feeling bad for her, I think.
More warming up to her. He's like, I'm sorry that you had to do that.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of like, I don't know, he's like feeling emotions towards her, and not just that he's annoyed that he has this child with him. He's still annoyed, but it's like he feels bad for her.
Yeah, I think what it was is because he's there to protect her, and he started losing a fight, and she had to come out, and she killed him. So she, like, in his eyes, like, he kind of like, that's her innocence gone, and as a kid, and he feels really bad and compassionate about that, because that kind of reminds him of his daughter and like her innocence, and
but she ends up telling him that's not her first kill.
Yeah. So they grow a little bit. Honestly, one of the things about the show I really like, thing I like the most about is when Ellie and Joel are together and they're interacting.
Watching their relationship grow.
That is like my favorite part of this whole show.
One of the overarching themes is Joel wanting to protect Ellie, and you see that a lot, that he really wants to protect her and make sure that she's safe and do what's best for her, and you see that multiple times throughout the show.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to remember where this episode leaves off. They introduce us to the girl who runs Kansas City. They had overtaken it.
Yeah, I don't care about that part.
I was really worried they were going to give a whole episode for this city and its people, and like they did with Bill and Frank. I was really scared, but they didn't.
Thank God.
They introduce, and I think this starts going into episode 5.
Yeah, so how this episode ends, episode 4, they find a skyscraper, they get inside of it, Joel puts some glass down to, like, basically just, if he hears them, like, breaking glass, whatever, he wakes up and everything like that, and the episode ends with him and Ellie being basically held at gunpoint, and then that's where episode 5 picks up.
They were asleep.
Yeah.
And then Ellie wakes up, and she's like, Joel!
That's when you kind of learn that Joel is partially deaf in one of his ears, or he has massive loss of hearing in one of his ears. I think it's his right one.
Oh, just like you.
No, that's just called selective hearing.
So then in episode 5, they wake up and they meet Henry
and I forget the other one's name.
And then his brother, Sam.
Yeah.
And the lady who runs Kansas City really wants to find them. So she really wants Henry because he was an informant. Basically, he's a rat. Mm-hmm. And he gave information that got her brother killed. And so she really wants to kill him for revenge and yada, yada, yada. So he needs to get out, and Joel and Ellie need to get out, and they link up, and they're like, let's get out together. I need you to protect me. You need me to get you out of the city. So they're doing that.
We're going to go in the tunnels. Another thing, too, real quick, is Sam's actually mute. Mute or deaf?
He's deaf.
Deaf. He's deaf. So that is a change from the actual game too. Just to clarify that. But continue. Sorry. They're gonna go down in the tunnels. They're gonna go out of the city that way. Mm-hmm. They do make it out of the city, but as they're walking at night, they come up on like
a sniper.
A sniper, basically.
And he starts shooting at him, and Joel's like, "Oh, let me go take this guy out." But then everyone else starts coming, and then there's, which I don't know if they have this in the game, but they have like these random just like holes that end up being zombies, and they just, it's like a sinkhole of zombies, and they just come out and start attacking, and it's shown a couple of times.
This is probably the best action sequence in the entire show in this episode. With all, like, has the bloater comes out, and you have like just massive horde of zombies. And then you get a really cool sequence too of Joel protecting Ellie as she's running in like through this horde that's fighting with the Kansas City. I don't know. It's like the Free Kansas City troops or whatever, and they're fighting with the horde, and Ellie's trying to get through it, and you see Joel up there just working the sniper
protecting
rifle.
her yet again.
Yeah.
And she's trying to help Sam, the little boy.
Yeah.
So Sam and Henry are getting attacked by a zombie, and Ellie's trying to help them, and Joel's helping Ellie. I will say that this show is not zombie heavy at all. I feel like you see zombies a lot more in the game. You don't really encounter zombies in the show. It's way more focused on Joel and Ellie, which kind of is a little disappointing for me because I really like zombies, and I kind of would have liked to see more zombie action, and this is really the most that you see in the show is this
basically
episode.
After this there's like, we'll get to that and like
they had a clicker. We forgot to mention the clicker when Tess was still alive. They had that moment, and then
that was really cool.
It was, and then
really
this part. But you really, besides that, it's not that big of a thing. It's almost like it's not.
It's like an afterthought type thing.
Yeah, basically. Like how Walking Dead started focusing more on people attacking them versus the zombies. They were like,
that's when that show lost me too, personally. But
so.
Yeah. Also, one of the cool scenes about episode 5 too, I want to bring up to the very right while we're still here, is during the fight, Ellie gets in one of the cars and they have like a kid zombie get in there. That was creepy as hell because she's like exorcising herself over the car.
Exorcising?
Like, yeah, that's a word. Look it up.
Exorcising? Well.
You know. I know things.
And then at the end, so they end up all four of them make it out. They're running away while everyone's getting eaten. And they make it to some house. And they're laying low until the morning. And Ellie and Sam are in the bedroom while Henry and Joel are out in the living room area. So Sam's talking to Ellie and he's like, "Are you ever afraid? You don't seem afraid, blah, blah, blah." And she's like, "I'm always afraid." And he shows her that he was bitten when they were being attacked back in whatever, I don't even know where they were, but back with all the zombies. And so you find out that Sam is going to die.
And I think that's where, no, is that the end of episode 5?
So she,
or is that where it picks it up?
So at the end, he shows her, she cuts her hand and puts her blood into his wounds. She shows him that she was bitten to kind of calm him and like make sure that he's not scared and freaking out. And she puts her blood in there. And she's kind of hoping herself that her immunity is going to help save him. But she puts it into his wound and then, I don't know how, but she goes to sleep with this little boy who's going to turn.
Ticking time bomb.
And that's where season 5, that's where episode 5 leaves off.
Yeah, and then it picks up, so episode 6 picks up right at the beginning. Ellie wakes up, looks over at Sam. Sam's facing opposite of her, like towards the window of the hotel room. And she goes to check on him, and he like attacks her. And I guess he like tackles her through the door or something.
Yeah, he attacks her. He's just sitting there, which I thought was weird because he turned and didn't attack her while she was sleeping, I didn't like that. I think he would have attacked her, but whatever. So then when she goes over and kind of like...
Maybe he was just dormant. I think he had turned and he was just dormant.
I don't know. I don't like that. I think that's you really gotta suspend your belief there.
Oh, that's fair. But so Sam attacks her.
And they go out into the living room.
Yeah, goes in the living room.
And so Joel and Henry are out there, and they're like, "Oh, what's going on?" Mm-hmm. And Joel's about to shoot Sam, I believe, and Henry's like, "No, don't do that." And
meanwhile, Ellie's down there. Please, God, somebody do something. Because Sam's up there just wailing on her, trying to get to her. And then finally, Henry gets the goal. I guess it gets the gun from Joel, and then shoots Sam.
I don't know if he took it from Joel, but he shoots Sam.
He shoots Sam, and then like he freaks out because he just realized he just killed him.
And then he unalives himself.
Yeah, he unalives himself. He removes himself from the world census.
Because I'm assuming because he couldn't live with the fact that he had killed his own brother, even though he had turned. Yeah. He didn't want to live with that. And then you see Ellie super upset, and so she's like, "I'm ready, let's go." And her and Joel leave.
Yeah.
But you find out later, I don't remember what episode, but she ends up telling Joel that she put her blood in him and it didn't work, so she doesn't think that she can cure everyone. And he's like, "I think it's a lot more complicated than that."
Yeah. I'm trying to remember where this episode leaves off. Honestly, this is not...
They're like moving, and this is episode 6.
Yeah, I think they go through like a college thing, right? There's only 9... Okay, so there's only 9 episodes.
So... I think this might still be episode 6.
Yes, because... yeah.
So, there's these people that end up stopping them.
Yeah.
And they're on horses, and they have a dog that comes out to sniff if they are infected, and Joel and Ellie are freaking out because they think it's gonna smell that Ellie has been infected. And do you want me to keep going? You want to take it from there?
No, that's you're doing fine.
Okay, so the dog doesn't know, and he's just like kissing on Ellie and all that stuff. So the dog's
like, these people are great.
Yeah, so they take them in. They have a little community, and the woman who's kind of like leading this group is like, "Wait, you have a brother?" Because Joel is like, "We're trying to find my brother."
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, "You have a brother? What's your name?" And it ends up that Tommy lives in this community, and this woman is his baby mama because she's pregnant.
Yeah, so my only complaint I think with this episode is there's a scene that like where they're talking about like, "Oh, we live in a commune, we're communist," and it just felt really out of place for me.
Yeah, but Tommy was like, "No, we're not," and she's like, "But we literally are." They literally are because they do share everything.
You're just trying to survive. You know what I mean?
I mean, yeah, but they, by definition, they really are. And that's what she was saying.
Me, it just fell out of place.
I think that's what she was saying, but Tommy was like, "No, we're not. Don't say that." But she was like, "But we really are," and they technically really are.
Yeah, to me it just fell out of place. Like it didn't make much sense to me. Like they could have been like, "Oh, this is our community. We do try to share everything because there's limited resources." I just felt like the way they went about it, it just out of place for me. But that's kind of how the episode ends, and they're like,
does it end there? I don't listen again. Don't remember where it ends. Starts going into episode 7.
Yeah, the pacing. Like I said, the pacing for the show is like one of my biggest complaints.
I feel like it's very fast.
Yeah.
I don't know why they only did 9 episodes. I don't know what it is with everyone now. We can only do 8 or 9 episodes, maybe 10 if you're lucky. But this needed more time, or they should have done season 1 half of the game, season 2 the second half of the game, because this was just way too fast and it felt very patchy.
Yeah.
It didn't have a good flow. It was just like, oh, this story, and then this story, and then that story, and then this story. It didn't flow well at all.
Which is going to lead us into my least favorite episode, episode 7.
So, I don't remember where.
So end of episode 6 before we get to there. Sorry.
I was still gonna explain before we go into that. I know what you're thinking of.
Yeah. Go ahead.
There's still a whole lot that happens before that, though.
Okay. Go ahead.
So they have to take Ellie, and Joel has this moment again. What we talked about before. He wants to protect Ellie. He feels like he can't do that. He froze when the dog was sniffing her and didn't save her from Sam. So he's like, oh my gosh, I am not protecting you the way that you need to be protected. And he wants Tommy to take her. And she's really upset. And she's like, no, I want you. So she's about to leave with Tommy, and Joel's like, all right, I'll take you. Fine. I'm kind of starting to care about you. So
I guess we're friends.
Tommy lets them take a horse. And
then they get to the college, or like a university type, and they're going in and they're looking for like another thing of fireflies, or they're supposed to be there. They're not. There's another map. Okay, so we messed up. So this is where they find the map, where it's saying that they're not here anymore. They're actually in Salt Lake City. So my bad on our part.
what?
This is where they find that this is where they were supposed to go the whole time, and then the fireflies are going to meet them there and take her from there into Salt Lake City. So we messed up when we were explaining it in so far. So this is where they meet it, and they're like, oh, we got to go to Salt Lake City now. And so right at the very end of the episode, they just like, they're coming out of the hospital, and they see like 4 people down there that look like raiders, even though you don't really ever see actual raiders in the show, which is kind of crazy. But they start getting into a little tussle, a little razzle dazzle,
And Joel gets stabbed.
and then Joel gets prison shanked, and they start riding off, and he falls off the horse. Happens.
So so Ellie is like, no, and somehow she gets him in this building, and
back on the horse somehow.
So she gets there in this building. The horse is in the garage, and he's not doing
Dying.
good.
He's about to.
And Ellie's upset. She's like, no, you
Fly off.
can't die. You can't leave me. I can do this without you. Which then we have a flashback of Ellie, and when
This is episode 7, by the way.
this is when she's bit and finds out. I don't think we really need to talk about this episode that much. It's the part in the game where you see how Ellie got bit and her friend is there. Her friend gets bit. This is the person she had to kill. She kills her friend and finds out she's immune. But they take a whole entire episode to to show you.
This episode was not needed.
It wasn't. It could have
This
been
is actually
a
a
quick
DLC in the game.
It could have been a quick flashback.
Mm-hmm.
This is what, just like in the game. Like, hey, we went to the mall and I got bit. But no, they're making it this whole romantic thing. They find out that they like each other.
Oh yeah, by the way, Ellie's gay. Continue.
Which is in the game too.
No, it is, but like, for whatever reason, people were upset about that. Like, so what? She's gay. Who cares?
Oh,
Keep
I
it
didn't
moving.
know that. But yes. And it was in the game the whole time.
Yeah.
But it just didn't need to have a whole episode. It chopped up, again, it's chopping up this season. I can't think of I was going to say series. It's chopping up the season.
Mm-hmm.
And it just, give me the flashback for like 10 minutes and then go back to her saving Joel. It would have been a lot more impactful. Or maybe like bits and pieces, like she thinks about it, oh, flashback, and then she goes and does stuff, and then, oh, I'm thinking about it again, another flashback. But
That would have been way
whole
better.
episode,
Yeah.
it was not needed.
Another thing too is the actress that they got that was supposed to be like her best friend.
I didn't think she was a good actress.
No,
Did not
care.
Mm-mm.
Jesus, cardboard. No, Plank from Ed, Ed and Eddie could have done a better
You could
job.
just tell she was acting.
Yeah.
I didn't think she was a good actress.
She was acting really
I don't
hard.
think we really need to talk about that episode more. Let's go into 8.
Well, I do want to say one thing though, is like, this episode did not need to be here, especially for only having 9 episodes. And to me, this was by far the weakest episode. Still, I would say this is still one of the better, like this show, even though this episode was not my favorite, it's still better than a lot of other TV shows, like entire shows. This one, even though it's not great, I still give it about like a 6 out of like 10. But it was not
say
needed.
That yet.
Well, I'm just saying for this particular
the episode.
Yeah, this particular episode was not needed because of how short this actual show is. If we were like doing like
even if it wasn't short, no, it just cuts off. Like I said, it doesn't need a whole. You shouldn't have an entire episode dedicated to something that's not part of what's going on.
Yeah,
it's just. I don't think it was needed. Just.
Yeah, I agree with you. I don't think it was needed, especially again too. Another thing with the show is it not being 10 to 12 episodes. If it was like 10 or 12 episodes, I can maybe see it. Maybe you can make an argument then, but I don't think for 9 episodes, I don't think this should have ever made it into the show. I agree with you 100%. I think they should have done like maybe flashbacks here and there throughout
or just 10 minutes.
Or maybe 10 minutes like they do, and we're going to get there at the end, but like how they started episode 9, I think was really well, it was great. And I think they should have done it like that. And we'll get to episode 9 in a minute here, but
it's episode 8.
Yeah.
She's back with Joel.
Mm-hmm.
She had stitched him up. He has a fever.
Joel's dying.
They need food, so she goes out and she's like, I'm going to get me some food. The rabbit runs away, so then she finds a deer. She shoots the deer, runs away, because she didn't get like a perfect kill shot. So he's running away, and he falls. And then there's these 2 men, and they find the deer. And then Ellie finds the men with the deer. I
want to highlight this part real quick because I actually did like this part as like a guy who's a gun guy. I can appreciate this scene a little bit. So Ellie basically disarms the 2 guys who stumbled upon the deer that she killed, and the leader of this group is like a former teacher. If you play the game, you know where this is going. But he's also like the preacher now for the group. And so he
classic cult leader.
I drank the Kool-Aid. Don't drink the Kool-Aid. Don't do it. Unless it's grape flavored. That's my favorite. So, yeah. So she's like, I'll make a trade with you. You go back to the village. You get some medicine. We'll split the deer in half. And I get the medicine. And you guys can go. So, as the guy runs off, Ellie comes up and tells the guy to back up. And she comes up and starts. Well, she does a really good thing, I think. Was like, it's very nice. I appreciate this. She actually starts unloading both the guns, and while he's like further back as she approaches, I really appreciate that scene. I think that's like a nice little touch and a little detail I appreciate. But then she gets, as they're sitting there talking, this guy is trying to persuade her a little bit. You know, hey, we could, you can come join our group. You know, we're pretty big size.
And he's like, everything happens for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
I can prove it to you. We had a guy that was killed, and the guy that killed him was with a little girl. And it's like, dun dun dun. Yeah. You guys killed one of our people. And so now they want revenge. And then Ellie gets away.
Ellie does get away. She doesn't even get the deer. She just gets the medicine, which is like the most important part.
Yeah, he makes the guy give her the medicine.
Yeah.
And then she goes back to Joel, gives him the medicine, and he's still asleep. Then she goes out to the horse. And as she's going out to the horse, giving it snow so it's hydrated, she sees people coming. So she goes inside. She's like, Joel, wake up. Wake up, Joel. There's people.
Here's a knife.
She gives him a knife, and she's like, I'm going to draw them away. This is my least favorite episode because I knew this was going to happen because it always happens every time there's a dang horse. But she's trying to ride away, draw them away, and they shoot the horse. And Ellie passes out and they take her. And then, so the leader leaves and he's like, you guys stay and you find the guy and bring him back. And then Joel's like, I'm better now. I'm going to kill you all.
Yeah,
And so he's doing his little rampage while Ellie's taken away. So you're kind of going back and forth between them.
Mm-hmm.
And Ellie is in her cell. Now we're at the cell. And she sees a human ear and something else
She realizes,
in another area.
hey, these people are cannibals.
You're like, you're eating? She's like, you're eating people? You're sick. And he's just like, oh, they think I'm religious and I'm really not. And
I'm a child diddler.
he doesn't say that.
But that's implied.
But he's like, you can run this place with me and blah, 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 and be my child bride, basically. And she's like, oh, yeah, you know what? We could do this. And she has him come close and she breaks his fingers.
Yeah, that was like, I really like that scene. And then like he's like stumbling away and she's like yelling at him like, tell him I fucking did it. I appreciate that. That was a good scene.
So then...
So this is the part where I forget. How does she get out?
She breaks his finger and he's like, okay, you know what? They're coming in and they're going to slaughter her for food. And she's like, wait, I'm infected and you're good. Now you're infected because I bit you, because she bit him in the little scuffle they had. And,
I don't remember seeing that.
Yeah, at some point, because she tells him that.
Oh, yeah, okay.
So then, in the moment of, oh my god, am I infected? She grabs his knife and
stabs the other guy.
Kills the other guy, and then bolts out of there. So then he's trying to get to her, and
Joel's
this
like
was
coming
like
through the city.
One of the darker episodes, because one, he
really
eats people, and then two, he's trying to get to Ellie. She throws this like torch at him and catches the place on fire, and he's still trying to find her and this and that, and then eventually he gets her. Well, again, he's killing the people. He made it back to their thing.
Well, he's interrogating them.
He's looking. Oh, he did interrogate
awesome
them.
scene.
He's like, where are we? And if you guys don't tell me the same thing, you're dead. Like he did with the husband and wife, but he was meaner this time.
Yeah.
So
he removes 2 people from the world census.
4. I think there were 4 of them.
Yeah, he's full Rambo
total.
This episode. It was great.
So then he goes to where they said that the place was, and this guy's trying to get Ellie, and he gets to her and tries to... Am I allowed to say the word? He tries to R-word her.
Rhymes with rape.
And she... What does she do? She gets away from him.
Yeah, so she's crawled. So the building's on fire. It's like she threw like a thing from a fire, an ember. Yeah, sets on a fire. She's crawling around on like I think one of the bars. For whatever reason, this guy didn't even think to look there. He's just like walking around the middle of.
Yeah, so she's trying to get away, and he catches her, like I said.
Yeah, and then. And
he's like, I like when they try to get away.
And then Ellie is like, well, hold my beer, watch this, and then stabs him. And then gets on top of him, and it's just...
Yes, she reached a knife. That's what it was. And then she gets out, and Joel finds her. And then they're on their merry way again.
It's a good episode. Episode 9. This is something that I wish they would have maybe done with episode 7. And this is when we were talking about it earlier.
I can't remember how it started.
The first, 15... Or no, I wouldn't even say 15. Maybe, 10 minutes of the show is actually Ellie's mom... running through the woods against the zombies.
Her mom in the show is the voice actress for Ellie in the game. Yes. I was like, why does she sound like... Because I was like, she talks just like Ellie. No wonder they picked this woman for her mom. Because she kind of looks like her. Fantastic. And she acts like her. And she speaks like her. Because it's the voice actress.
Great job. Honestly, very good scene. I wish I would have done this more with episode 7.
And that's added in, right? It's not in the game.
Yeah, that's not in the game at all.
And that was a good add-in.
Yeah.
You see why Ellie is immune to the fungus.
Yes.
Because her mom was bit right before Ellie was born.
Yes.
And so Ellie has had this type of the fungus. It's like a different variant or something. I don't know. They said something. They kind of explain it. I can't remember.
Kind of explain it,
but it has grown with her. So now it tricks the cordyceps into thinking she's already infected. She's already infected.
They're like, hey, bro, we're already here, man.
Hey, bro, we're good.
Basically. So that's why she's immune. So then they get to Salt Lake City. This is kind of after that they kind of speed up a little bit. Ellie's a little upset still because of what just happened before. Joel's trying to console her. They even do a little call to like, hey, I found a guitar. They found like beef ravioli. And like
she's just upset the whole
she's
time.
just upset.
They have a heartfelt moment where, because earlier in the show, he said that she asked him how he got this scar, and he says someone shot at me and they missed, and then I shot and I missed. So he tells her that he was the person that tried to shoot him because he was so upset about his daughter.
Yeah.
And he flinched and missed. And so she's like, well, I'm glad that it didn't work out. And he's like, me too. So they have this moment, this heartfelt moment, and it makes her feel a little bit better. And then they carry on and they make it to the Firefly.
I really enjoyed this episode a lot, personally.
And you could
especially
really
that
see,
scene. That scene was really
yeah,
well done.
you see how far along they've come, and then he asks for more jokes from her.
Yeah. And then flashbang through the door. And they get stunned. Somebody gets a little, hit to the back of the head from a rifle.
Oh, right,
They get intercepted. Right. And then they wake up in the hospital. And
Joel wakes up in the
hospital.
He finds out it's the Fireflies.
Yep.
They're like, Ellie's fine. She's being prepped for surgery.
And then Joel's like, hold up. Wait a minute.
I need to see her. And they're like, no, you can't. She's already knocked out. And
this kind of goes into like the big dilemma, I think, of the overarching theme of like the decision. And Joel's talking to him, and she's like, listen, the surgery, they're going to crack open her skull.
Hold on. She says that they basically like put her to sleep without her knowing.
Mm-hmm.
And she doesn't know what they're about to do to her, so she wasn't freaking out. Like, they didn't even tell Ellie.
Yeah, she didn't even have a choice.
And they have to go into her brain, because that's where they don't say that, but Joel's like, well, it grows in your brain. And they're like, yeah, well, we're gonna save everyone.
And Joel's like, nah.
And then it's your video game moment, and you just see him. This is the part where you are gunning down everything in your way to get to Ellie, and it's part in the video game where you have the cutscene, and then you are shooting, and then you go to another cutscene when you're done.
Love it. Great part of this episode. I like the little call out they use with the little Mini 14. Like that. Doesn't get a lot of love. Good gun. Anyway, yeah. You actually, this is like one of the few times I felt like Joel was actually Joel from the video games. He is full Terminator mode, going through everyone in that hospital, no mercy.
And this is where you really see that he has come to care about Ellie like his own daughter.
Yeah.
Because now he's like, oh no, I can't lose her.
And he goes into like the surgery room, wastes no time with
Surgeon's
that.
like, I won't let you take her.
Waste no time.
He does leave the nurses.
Fantastic. Yes. If you know what the importance of that scene with the doctor is leading into the next game, you know like why that is. So like I just think it's a very cool scene. Like he just goes in, just immediately blaps that guy.
I don't want to watch season 2.
Hold on, we're not there yet.
I know.
So and then he takes Ellie, gets her out.
She wakes up,
and he's like talking to her.
She's like, "What happened?" And he lies. He lies. His butt off because he doesn't want her to be mad and try to go back or whatever. And he says Raiders came and everyone's dead. And she's like, even Marlene. He's like, yeah.
And they're doing like a nice little cutscene as he's talking to her about it, as like him holding her and like just.
But he's like, Raiders came and everyone's dead. I barely got you out. And they had so many more people that are immune, and they found out that they can't even get a cure. And he just lies to her because he doesn't want her to be mad at him, and he also doesn't want her to sacrifice herself. Yes. So they're like, we're going back to Tommy's, and they don't even need you anymore.
Okay, so
overall,
I'm going to start with the positives, and we'll get to the negatives. Overall, I really enjoyed the show. I do have some nitpicks with like certain episodes here and there, but overall I would rate the show as like a 8 out of 10. I really enjoyed it.
I give it probably 7.
7. The positives, I really enjoyed the acting. Pedro Pascal's Joel was a fantastic pick. As soon as I saw the
Listen,
trailer
Pedro's
with him,
great.
yeah, he's good and everything. He really is. As soon as I saw the trailer and he was in it, I was like, he'll make a good Joel, I think. Ellie, obviously.
When I first met her, I was skeptical,
Mhm.
but I grew to like her after I kept watching.
Yes, I think that's what I was gonna say too. Is like at first I was kind of like, okay. They do make some changes to Joel, so this is like a different take on Joel from the game.
A little more emotional.
He's a little bit more emotional. He's not as much like gung ho, and there's not as many scenes in the game where he's like worried about not being able to protect Ellie. Ellie in this show is also a different take a little bit. She's a lot more involved in the decision making, which makes to me like doesn't make a lot of sense because
And this shows that
she's never been outside of like the city.
they're way more character focused and more like they didn't care about the zombies as much. They really cared about the characters and showing their emotions and developing them and the relationship between Ellie and Joel.
I think they did a great job with it, honestly. The episode 3 with Bill and Frank was a great episode, very well acted. It didn't feel, even though like it kind of doesn't flow with the entire show, I still really liked the episode a lot. But yeah, the story overall is good. The scenes are very good. I had a hard time with certain scenes figuring out if it was like CGI or not or practical effects. I like when shows
did they
do
use
that.
a real giraffe? I need to look it up because I was waiting. Oh, hold on. I forgot to mention the giraffes. I was waiting for that scene. Giraffes are my favorite and A++++ for that
very
part.
well done scene.
So it's very character driven, showing how Joel and Ellie's relationship blossoms, and showing the characters. They did a good job. The actors were great. Special effects I thought were good.
Mm-hmm.
It was. I know it's not a beautiful world, but it was beautiful, like cinematically.
Yeah, definitely.
It was beautiful, and
the music also was spot on. I think the music throughout the whole show was just very well done. Like it flowed very well with each episode.
I'm giving it a 7. I think they could have made the show like a 10. I think they could have made it great. Home run. Hit it out of the park. Again, very choppy. It needed more flow.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like they wanted, I don't know, they wanted to explain things maybe that the fans had questions about. I don't know, that they wanted more from the game and they shouldn't have. It just ruined the flow, and even without those 2 episodes that went to something else, it was still very choppy, very rushed. I was like, this is we're already at the end of where the first game is. The end of the first game.
The pacing. Yeah.
It was just, I don't know, there just wasn't flow, and it was too fast, and they didn't like how much of the zombies they cut out. And if they didn't make it so fast, they could have put more zombies in there, because it didn't even feel like a zombie show. It didn't feel like it came from a zombie game, and part of the game is you have to kill all these zombies, and they just kind of left it behind.
Yeah.
And those are my biggest qualms with this. I don't know if there's really anything else. That's really it. It just was very jumpy and too fast and not enough zombies.
Yeah, I think one of my things, I agree with you on that, is the pacing of the show felt off on certain episodes. Like first 2 episodes, pacing was perfect. Honestly. My favorite episodes are the first 2 episodes, and after that it kind of starts to wane a little bit, because then you go into episode 3, has nothing to do with Joel and Ellie, and then it kind of picks back up with them for 2 more episodes, and he goes into 7. 7 was not needed. That should have been just like a flashback.
It's just
so
like,
the pacing
we're
was
here,
just,
then
yeah.
we're here,
Yeah.
but now we're here.
Yeah.
But now we're in this new place. And I'm like, what? Where?
Yeah.
What?
And after episode 5, you don't really see any more like zombies when it's not a flashback scene. And I feel like that kind of hurts the show in a way, because it doesn't emphasize the importance of what they're doing with Ellie. I think that
That's
overall hurts the show, because it doesn't.
No, we don't really even need Ellie. You guys are fine.
Yeah, like
There's no zombies anywhere.
basically.
Except for these random sinkholes, and
Yeah.
if you go out into these places that no one's in anymore.
Yeah. So I think that hurts the show overall with the not showing more of them.
Yeah, like why do you even need her?
Yeah.
There was a point where I asked you, why don't they just rebuild civilization at this point? It doesn't really seem like they're in that much trouble and that much danger. I literally said that while we were watching. I was like, at this point, it seems like they can just rebuild everything because it's just so easy to avoid the zombies.
Yeah.
Like, why haven't
Don't go in the cities. Just build out in the middle of, like, the Midwest, except for Kansas.
Go bomb the places that have all the zombies still, and then, like, they really didn't do that part justice.
Yeah. And there's also some topics they try to, like, they very lightly go over with, like, especially with episode 7, where, like, the Fireflies are basically, like, anarchist, like, terrorist group, and Fedra, they're like, and the one girl that was supposed to be, like, Ellie's best friend, she was like, well, Fedra's, like, fascist, and they're like, even though, like, Fedra's literally holding the city together, like, they're holding civilization together, and they might not doing it a very, like, amazing job, but it's better, I think, than what the Fireflies were doing, because the Fireflies are just going around, like, blowing things up, being terrorists. They don't really dive too deep in that. They could have covered it a little bit more, maybe gone a little bit more in depth in that. I think that would have been pretty cool. Yeah, I think the pacing hurts the show a lot. They needed more episodes, and I don't even think that's really that big of a negative. When I want more episodes of this show, I think that's not that big of a negative.
They should have stretched season 1.
Yeah. Yeah.
If they give the second game more than 1 season,
they're going to. They've already confirmed there's 2 more seasons.
Why would you give that game multiple seasons and not the first one?
Yeah.
I will say they are keeping Bella Ramsey as Ellie. She technically is, not technically, she is 19. She looks really young. So
they can do
she's the age that Ellie is in the second game.
Yeah.
But they're not recasting her.
Which is good. I
don't
really
like
her.
recasting. Although House of Dragons did a pretty good job with recasting with the time jump.
Yeah. And if you want us to cover that show, you can comment down below.
Oh god, I'm gonna have to rewatch it.
I have no problem. I like the show a lot. But I think overall it was good. It was a good show.
It could have been great.
And for HBO it sets the bar so high, I think, for a lot of the shows they have, that even like the little nitpicks here and there that I have with the show doesn't overall make me not like the show.
I don't know. It really bothers me.
What?
I feel like something's missing in the show. Like, it's over, and I'm like, it's over already? Like, what? I feel like there was so much that was left out.
That's because it needed more episodes. If you had like 10 to 12 more episodes, like instead of 9 episodes, you had 10 to 12, they could have slowed it down and actually explored a little bit more between two. Like,
so you're saying that this isn't a big nitpick, but it's a big one for me, because that's the impression that I'm left with. And like, I think about the show and I'm like, it wasn't great, but I enjoyed it. And I think it's a big issue for me. I think they left out too much, because thinking back on the show, I'm just like,
See, the thing with that is, like, I enjoyed the characters.
I did too.
I got really invested in Joel.
That's why I'm saying it could have been great, and it was on the precipice of being great.
Yeah.
But they just messed that up, and that's what I think about when I think back on the show.
No, that's fair. I think overall, I'm still going to give it an 8.
I give it a 7.
So
I would still recommend it.
Definitely would still recommend it. I think it's one of the better shows out right now. I don't think there's anything that's even close. Even with the nitpicks and the certain problems that I have with the show, I still think it's one of the best shows out right now.
I'm not looking forward to the next one, the next season, but
we will still watch it and still cover it if that's what you guys want. Everyone wants to see.
So what did you guys think? Let us know in the comments down below. Did you like certain episodes or the whole season? What did you think? Favorite, least favorite episode?
Comment your opinions down below. Get in the comments and tell us what you thought.
Let us know if you like videos like this.
Yeah. And that's all I got. So, see ya.